All right, we are live. Thanks for joining me this afternoon or whenever you're watching this, for talking about Apple and smart home tech. And last week we looked back on all the past WWDCs since Apple HomeKit was introduced and talked through different things Apple's announced over the years, and it kind of makes you pretty excited for what's coming with WWDC, but we'll see. I think this year it sounds like, there's so much focus on AI. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the home automation stuff is just kind of by the side, sideline for that, and it's probably, what I'm hoping for are some automations that we can get through some of this new technology, whatever it is, for AI or shortcuts. And, just like, for example, when Apple updates integrations into the Shortcuts app, it adds things like personal automations that you can do in all kinds of different ways. So that then, of course, go into Apple Home. And that's, to me, a big reason why it's worth the hassle to go with Apple Home versus other platforms, is you get those benefits. Yeah, and the channel just crossed 50,000 subscribers. So I want to talk about a little bit of that and just go through some early videos and just some behind the scenes memories of those, and a couple other just kind of quick, things that I think might help you if you're just trying to tell stories with video, or organize your thoughts in certain ways to tell stories. I think there's some helpful things that, even if you're not trying to start a YouTube channel, which if you are, great, go for it. But or even if you don't already have or start a YouTube channel, I think there's some stuff that I can share that might be slightly helpful. So I'm gonna go back to the chat though and say hi to some of you guys here. Only 103 degrees in Vegas. James, nice to see you. Regular here. That is pretty hot for me. Right now it's 77 or so here, so degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm guessing 103 is also Fahrenheit. And good afternoon, William. Nice to see you. And so, I just want to go through some quick background on some of my early videos. I think you guys might find some of that interesting, and then we'll get into there wasn't a lot of smart home news this week, but there's some stuff I want to get to there, and looking ahead to WWDC as well. So I started my channel. This music and volume on the top of the HomePod. Oops, there we go. Oops, there we go. So I started my channel, and I just talked about product reviews, and then a little bit of my own app development, which that might be coming back sometime in the future. We'll see. Related to smart home tech, we'll just leave it at that for now. But anyways, I did a review of the HomePod when that first came out, the original HomePod, and that got, more views than other videos I was talking about. I love cameras, by the way. This, I reviewed this G7X Mark II, which I've long since sold. But for me, like, a fun night of watching YouTube is often, and I'm actually, you can't see my screen. This is really bad. Okay. Thought I would have gotten this live stream thing down by now after doing it a bunch, but sometimes I still forget to press the right button. But yeah, so some of my older videos on the channel, like, I started out by just, I reviewed this leather folio. And like, if you're looking to get into doing YouTube, chances are doing a product reviews is pretty straightforward way to get started, because the videos kind of write themselves, the format of them, if you haven't done a lot of making videos before. And then I did some stuff, as I mentioned, on app development previously. I love cameras, although I'm not really like a master photographer or videographer or anything that can make those videos like some people do. But that is, like, if I have a night free, often what you might find me doing in my free time is watching camera and car videos on YouTube, and maybe some other general tech videos. I tend not to watch too much of the smart home tech YouTube other than just research, just because I want my perspective and my ideas to be a little bit unique. And if I'm just sort of repeating and saying the same things in the same ways as everybody else, that's not good. But I want to go and support my fellow creators, and I go watch them, for that and sometimes for research. But I kind of have to be, I try and be strategic. It sounds so silly to say it this way, but I try and be kind of strategic, I guess you could say, about like watching those, not watching a video about something I'm about to review myself, because I don't want to get someone else's opinion in my reviews and stuff like that. So it's a whole thing. Anyways, but then, the HomePod video was one of the early ones that kind of took off on my channel. And I'm hoping this audio will come through. Maybe it was earlier. And I got to turn off the closed captions here. So they put that easy rip tape on the top of these boxes from Apple. And then you got this. And so I unboxed the HomePod and set it up until now. So it was my audio is choppy. I'm guessing it's choppy for you. That was like the first smart home video, and I was like, oh, covering this smart home stuff is kind of fun. And then this video was really like the first smart home video.
Dimmer switch, and if it's right for your
this was the
home setup.
But first, the thing with the Philips Hue dimmer switch is, it's like, it was a really good product when it first came out. This initial version, let me see if I can find a freeze frame so you guys can see sort of what I'm talking about. This initial version of it, where it has the off, or in Europe, I think it had the 0 and then the 1 at the top, where it's a proper switch. That was so much better than what they have now, which I have one of those in the other room. It's like trying to get you to use the top button to toggle between on and off, and it's just way less usable. But this first version of the Philips Hue dimmer switch was great. And you can still find this one certain places if you're interested. It's still even, I think, sold sometimes on Amazon. So it hasn't gone away. Philips Hue still supports that. And then right around this time, so this was, let's see if I can see when this was 6 years ago. I'm thinking this was like spring, May 12th. So, a little over 6 years ago. In not long after this video, we bought our home. So this was one of my last videos talking about smart home tech in my apartment, or my wife and I's apartment, where we rented. And then I started getting into Lutron Caseta, because then I could put in light switches. And so this was like my first video to really take off around that. And this was the Lutron Caseta. Is it the ultimate HomeKit lighting system? And it was just like an overview of Lutron Caseta and different things about it way back in the day. This is all the original style switches and stuff like that. Here it's, and then, of course, talking about the bridge that you have to have, and talking about the poor tactile feedback on these lights. And this is a very old version of the same office that I'm in now. This office has changed a lot, or room in my basement has changed a lot over the years for different setups. I've never really found something I love, but I'm happy enough with what I have now. It's kind of landed on something that works. But anyway, so this was my old setup in the basement there. And so once I got my own home to be able to try some stuff, because you could do a lot of smart home tech while renting, and I don't think renting should stop you from doing smart home tech. But that was really when things started to go as far as like making videos about this. But it's been kind of slow going over the years to get to 50K, but there's definitely been some moments of more growth, and it's definitely picking up in the big picture of things. And I have a lot of exciting stuff planned for this channel. So definitely not slowing down. If anything, speeding up with a lot of stuff. I had a number of videos that didn't quite pan out in May. So I didn't really have a lot of videos posted in May, but I have a lot of plans for June and beyond. So exciting stuff coming here on the channel. And yeah, maybe we'll jump. That's enough navel gazing. I don't really want to, make this all about me, because it's all about you and helping you guys, because that's what this, if we can all build better smart homes together, that and better Apple lives and setups with shortcuts and iPads and Macs, etc., then we all win. So that's what this channel is about. Not me talking about my past, but sometimes a little bit of that is nice. The fun last thing before I leave talking about my past, the fun memory for me of this video, if I go back to this screen, this video I was playing around with at the time, editing on an iPad and using I was still working a job where I had to travel more. And so just trying to do my entire YouTube channel from an iPad was like a cool idea, to me at least. And so I edited this video on LumaFusion, if you're, and that app is still around on iPad. This would have been like probably the 2018 iPad Pro or something, that I had for a while. And I was editing that in the hospital while my wife was sleeping, in the process of having our first child. So that was like a really fun memory for me of like, I edited this video, I posted it, with the iPad from LumaFusion, and then, it did really well. So yeah, that's that. But then back to questions. So yeah, it's 107 here in Fresno. Man, that's hot. I remember I used to live out in the East Bay. This Fresno is not the East Bay, but Northern California. I lived in the East Bay. Like we lived out in Concord, and it could get really hot there in the summers, even though, down in San Francisco, it can stay pretty cool. Greetings from Florida, Eric. Nice to see you here. Question. I've been thinking about for a long time starting a smart home channel. When it comes to video and audio, what would you recommend for someone just starting? Yes, well, that actually gets me to one of the things that I think would be sort of my, if you want to film video for some reason, right? It could be starting a YouTube channel. It could be something you want to document about your family, your personal life, whatever. Sometimes something fun to do there is if you have elderly relatives, you can interview them about their past and all their, family and everything, and just get some nice archives of someone talking about their past life. You can also, of course, there are plenty of things for work. You might make a pitch for something or a video for something at work, conference or whatever. Maybe something you're doing with a nonprofit, a church, or other religious organization. There can be a lot of use cases for video, and I would say the first thing is to start with your iPhone. The iPhone is incredibly powerful, even not a latest iPhone. And the mics are really good, and you can get, I can tell sort of as a somewhat video expert, when like bigger YouTubers are using their phone. Sometimes you can still tell, like if the telltale signs to look for, lots of things in the background in focus, almost kind of softer skin tones if it's the front facing camera or things like that, or softer skin detail, although a lot of cameras have that stuff too. But and there's just kind of a sound of the iPhone mic that you can kind of hear, but in general, it's all great. And you could just use the camera app on your phone. Then going from there, the Blackmagic camera app is really good. It takes some getting used to and learning how to use it, but it can be really powerful. And there's a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube on how to use that app. And then Kino is a new app from the developers behind Halide, which is a great camera app for your iPhone. And the advantage that those apps have is that you can control things like your shutter speed, and also details about if you're recording ProRes, maybe recording it to an external hard drive, because video can quickly take up a lot of space on your phone. And then that way, if you have an external like SSD that's plugged into your phone, then you can plug it into a Mac or iPad to edit it later, and it can be handy that way. The other side of it too is with I'd say you can also control your shutter speed more. So you want to have what's called a 180-degree shutter if you're filming video, where your shutter speed is double the frame rate of your video. A lot of YouTubers use 24 frames a second. I like 30 frames a second, but it just depends, what you want to do there. But so then you need a shutter speed that's double that, like 1/60 for 30 frames a second. And of course, then you can film B-roll at like 60 frames or 120 frames a second, and then slow it down on the timeline so then it's nice and smooth and looks more stable than just the shot normal. So that's all sort of like very crash course video basics. I'd say you can get started with your iPhone and even iMovie. From there, Final Cut Pro is a nice upgrade if you're looking to edit a little more, maybe do a few more fancier things with the edit. There's a little bit of a learning curve there. From there, I'd say, there's also DaVinci Resolve. I'm just getting into DaVinci Resolve. It's a little more complicated, but there's also a very powerful free version of that. Compared to Final Cut is about $300 or so right now, although the iPad version is $50 a year. So if you're just doing simple stuff, the iPad version on an iPad Pro could, or I think iPad Air as well, could work out really nicely. You have to have an M series chip in your iPad, I think, for Final Cut Pro to work on it. So that's all just really quick to get started. If you want to like kick it up a notch for not that much money, of course, the rabbit hole of gear for filming on YouTube is endless, and there are channels dedicated to it, and it's fun to watch all that stuff. And I'm a regular at places like the B&H photo app, but the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is super handy. When I was at CES, I saw so many creators walking around with this thing. And it's super nice it comes with a little bit of a hard case, so you can tuck it in a bag or maybe a large jacket pocket or something. And I have a tripod base on it, so I can just set it down. They have a creator kit, for it. And that has the camera itself, as well as a DJI mic, which then you can clip to things, and it comes out of the box already paired with the camera. Let me see if I can pull up the web page for this. But the difference between, what you'll get with a bigger sensor with your image is just a little bit more background separation. And for some of you guys who are not quite interested in camera stuff, I know this isn't all that exciting. So we'll get to some smart home and Apple stuff soon. But I'm going to put this up on the screen. Osmo Pocket 3. And they released this last year. Knowing DJI, who knows? Maybe they'll have a new version someday, but probably not anytime soon. But here now. Whoops. Did I hit the right button? There we go. So the Osmo Pocket 3 is what I was just talking about. And, that creator bundle comes with a lot of great stuff out of the box. There's even like a mist filter if you want to look really cinematic and cool with your video. But the things that it gives you better than the iPhone is, first of all, a larger sensor, as I was saying, so you get better background separation. The other thing is that it's stabilized. So you can get gimbals for your iPhone to get your iPhone footage stable. But the this is going to be better quality video than that. And it's already stabilized. So like as you're just moving it, it's keeping the camera steady because it's a gimbal. And so that inherently just gets you better video. And it does a decent job of shooting vertical video as well. I'm not really into that, but people do use it for that too. So if you're specifically interested in shooting vertical video, obviously your iPhone's a great place to start for that too, but you can use that for vertical video as well. My one complaint about the Pocket 3 is just that it uses micro SD cards. So I always have to get a screwdriver to like poke the micro SD card to then get it to come out. So whatever, it's not the end of the world. You can also directly connect it with a USB-C cable to your computer. But it is going to give you better quality And this is another thing too. You can shoot if you want to start getting into color grading. You can also shoot this in D-Log, just like the Apple iPhone. You can shoot an Apple log. And I would say don't get into color grading anytime early on in doing video because it's really hard. There are plenty of examples on my channel where I have tried shooting log footage and done a terrible job color grading it. That is one of the things in the next half of this year I'd like to get better at is better color grading in my footage so that the colors of my video isn't all over the place between the start and the end of the video and the B-roll and the A-roll and stuff. But anyways, I'm going through deep on a lot of video stuff. Obviously, I love making video and photos and things because I make this channel, but I don't really talk about that because it's not really what I'm good at. But yeah, that's enough fun. And I'd say that one product has been probably one of the more bigger, most helpful purchases for me in terms of all the gear acquisition spree over the years of various things. So yeah, I saw Sarah Dici, who's a tech creator, had a video a while back. She talked about, or a couple of weeks ago, talking about gear acquisition syndrome, gas. And I thought that was hilarious concept. So I definitely have bad gas sometimes. So let's see. And a lot of that's also in the smart home space, as you guys are well aware. So I went long on that question, but good thoughts. Hello from Gainesville, Florida. Hey, Carl. That's great. Yes. Let's see. What Ubiquiti router do you use for your Apple HomeKit on your home network? Good question. And then we'll get into some maybe some news and WWDC stuff too. Just one of those days where I need that afternoon cup of coffee. So thank you for the brief intermission. Yeah, I use the Ubiquiti UDM Pro as my router. And then I have a handful of access points hooked up to it. I have the U6, the Wi-Fi 6 long range in my living room, and then I have like the standard Wi-Fi 6 down here in the basement. And that's plenty for my home. And then, I've thought about Wi-Fi 7, but I just don't really have a need for it at the time being. I might check out like other Wi-Fi systems just for the sake of YouTube and reviewing them and seeing what's out there. If you see me do that, don't think it means that I think Ubiquiti is then a terrible idea. I still think they're a great networking solution, or probably will continue to be, but I want to be checking out whatever's the new stuff as well for you guys, because Ubiquiti's system doesn't always work well for everybody. So bringing up kind of what we're talking about, Ubiquiti has this whole sort of high-end networking solution. It's targeted at small businesses, but a lot of people use it in their smart homes if they're like really into smart home tech. And you can do everything from video recording to lots of elaborate network configurations and really customized things. And it's kind of nice because a lot of the mesh networking systems today, like that are consumer oriented, they get pretty expensive. You can quickly spend like over $1,000 on a mesh networking system. And if you take that same $1,000 I talked about in a video earlier this year, and you put it on your, you put it on something like a Ubiquiti system, it's modular. And so you can really tailor what you need and to what you buy, and you can probably get better value for your money for about the same cost. So it's always something to consider if you're looking at it. Of course, you can manage a multiple location global small business network if you want to with that. So it's a very capable system. I have heard complaints from some people. I saw someone in my comments earlier this week talking about how it can be hard. Certain countries, they're a small business, relatively speaking, based in the U.S., and so sometimes getting their gear internationally, like return policies, can be tricky. Someone in the UK was saying they have to return their stuff from Ubiquiti to the Netherlands, and then you have to pay like customs and import tax to go from the UK to the Netherlands for that return and some stuff. So I haven't verified any of that. It's just what someone mentioned in my comments. But so if you're not in the US, just keep that in mind. Do some research into like how you can get their gear in your country. You should be able to, but just something to consider. So I saw some other stuff in the chat I want to get to, so we'll go back to the main chat. Hey, what up? Thanks for coming by, Leet. Yeah, we're talking about WWDC at the front of the chat, at the beginning of this like chat, live stream chat. I don't think it's going to be all that big for smart home tech. I have no inside information about it, but I just think that it's better to go into WWDC with low expectations. And I think what I always hope for is just a lot of those small incremental quality of life improvements. And I think that whatever Apple's doing with AI and hopefully some kind of automation around that, I think that'll benefit us in the smart home without even really any specific Apple HomeKit features. And, we might get some other features that are really cool to use at home in various cases. I did a lot of videos last year about standby mode. And I think standby mode is a really cool thing that came to iPhone with the OLED always on screens on iPhone, and how you can just put the MagSafe charger, put your phone on a MagSafe charger in horizontal orientation, and then you have this big clock, or you can have different widgets on there. I use standby mode every single night on my bedside table, and I don't use it quite as much as I thought I would, or as I initially did on my desk every day, where I'd have my phone charging there and see different widgets, with like weather or my calendar or tasks or whatever. So that hasn't really lasted, but anyways, I think it's still a really cool thing that came to us that isn't technically smart home, but is still a nice move forward. And so I'm hopeful for a lot of those kind of things that can come with a new version of iOS and iPadOS, and hopefully I'm really excited for visionOS as well. I don't think there's going to be much there, but I think even small improvements. I still use my Apple Vision Pro a decent amount as a focus place to write. A lot of the scripts or the videos you see, it's an outline either in Obsidian or Notion. It's moving more to Notion for those outlines right now. And that just, is either on my iPad or in Apple Vision Pro. And, those are limited devices compared to a Mac. And I definitely, if I only could pick one, I'd pick the Mac of all those three. Still, I think that there's something really nice about having that focused, simple computing environment where you can, just focus on tasks like writing or admin work like email or whatever. So, although I'm not really much into emails compared to just writing my scripts. But we had some interesting news coming from Akara. Here's got some more questions in the chat, but we'll go back to that. Yes, you're probably going to hear AI more than you would care to hear about. Yes. Oh, we've talked a little bit about F1, and of course I live in the Chicago area. I don't know. I've heard the same rumors you have, Robert, about F1 coming to Chicago. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think it's really cool that NASCAR did come here. I'm not I don't really have the time to watch F1 and NASCAR, so I've kind of picked F1, and that's like my sport that I follow. We got the Practice 2 for Canadian Grand Prix coming up shortly. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they already have so many races in the U.S. that adding another one, they kind of have to take one away. I know that F1's growing a lot here in the United States, so that's something if you're hearing about F1 and thinking, oh, I kind of love to get into it, but I don't really understand it. My advice to you would be, if you have Drive to Survive on Netflix where you live, which in the US it's on Netflix, I highly recommend that as a show to watch. It's just some good personal stories behind athletes, and you don't really realize how athletic F1 is until you sort of watch that and follow the sport more. If you think about it, it's just people sitting in a car going around in a circle. It's a lot more involved than that, and there's a lot of science and physics and stuff behind the cars. So watch Drive to Survive, and then it might get you into the sport. I know plenty of people who've watched that show, and then they start to get into actually watching F1 as well. And it's actually, as far as sports go in the US, where you have to, these days pay for like usually some streaming service and then a cable subscription and then everything else, it's pretty cost effective sport to watch because you can subscribe to F1 TV and get every single race in the US for $85 a year. So you don't have to have a cable subscription or anything else, which $85 a year is a lot of money, but relative to watching a lot of other sports where you can quickly spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year on your cable TV plus other, streaming services for the sport, it's a pretty nice setup. So yes, F1 is an engineering race. You're right. There's a lot of physics and a lot of engineering that goes into making those cars fast, as well as the drivers. Would like to get rid of F1 out of Las Vegas. I imagine it just seemed like something that shut down the entire city because of how it's a street circuit right around downtown Las Vegas. That had to be an absolute mess to navigate that city during that time. It was fun to watch on TV. It looked cool, but yeah. Anyways, it's good to see there's some F1 fans in the audience. Who's Elite's asking, who is my team? So I am part of the Tifosi, I think that's how you say it, the Scuderia Ferrari fan team. I've been a fan of Ferrari now for a while since I got into the sport. I love the look of their cars. I love the logo, the mystique, the history around Ferrari. And this was, I kind of got into them as a team because I really like Charles and Carlos as drivers and people like on the show and stuff. And also just I liked the team in general. So we'll see. I have no other elite, it's not like a lot of sports in America and probably other places, you have like your local team that's in your city and you root for them because they're your local team. It's not quite like that. I mean, although Ferrari, it definitely is. If you live anywhere basically in the country of Italy, it seems, you're a Ferrari fan, but yeah, so I've been into Ferrari before when they were less dominant than they are now. So I'm not a bandwagon person, I don't think. I like not to think of myself as a bandwagon person, but it was really cool to see, Charles get P1 in Monaco and then Carlos get P3. I thought it was a really great race, fun to watch, and really cool to see McLaren. They're doing so well. Great story there. It's an exciting time to watch F1 because there's a lot of teams challenging for the front. Oftentimes there can be like last year, just a few people who just always win. And that's not as exciting sometimes. Am I using, some more behind the scenes questions. Am I using OBS or Ecamm? I use Ecamm Live on a Mac Mini here set up in my office. So, and then I have it hooked up to my main camera that I also film my YouTube videos on. I am trying also now using the same mic that I use for my YouTube videos, just kind of simplifying things here. So that's what you hear right now, which is a SM7B. So the thing I like about a podcast style mic compared to like I used to do overhead booms or I've done some lavs is like a podcast style mic is way more forgiving for a room that's not as well treated compared to a boom. If you have a lot of reverb in a room, a boom mic is going to pick that up. And so from what I've seen from behind the scenes or stuff of other YouTubers, a lot of YouTubers who use a mic overhead in a boom, they're in a room that's basically dedicated to filming their YouTube videos. And they have like huge sound blankets right next to where they have the boom, or like lots of treatment around the walls and the ceilings that maybe you do or don't see on camera to get a boom mic to sound good, or a shotgun mic. And there are certain shotgun mics that do better with reverb than others. But yeah, I got tired of having to have my room set up like that. So that's why I went with sort of a podcast style mic, and it's becoming more trendy on YouTube. I think people like the kind of conversational style that a podcast mic has. it lends itself to. So, yes, another Scuderia fan in the audience. Nice. Good to hear, Robert. So, do you take advantage of Aqara's security exposed to HomeKit? No. Aqara, if you're not familiar, if you add them via Apple Home, I don't think this is the case if you add them with Matter, if I remember correctly. But if you add them with Apple Home to your Apple Home, then you get the Aqara Hub as a security system. That can be handy, especially if you're looking for a security system or a way to set up a security system where you're not having to pay a monthly fee, you're not having to, deal with details of, let's say, door sensors that you have to buy from a specific company, and you have to use their particular app to arm it or disarm it. You can do it in Apple Home, and that opens up the gates of all kinds of apps that can talk to Apple HomeKit behind the scenes. Like Controller for HomeKit or Home Plus 5, the Home Plus app, and just a bunch of others. There's Home Widget, just had a big update with the Apple Watch. So there's a lot of cool apps out there you can use to control Apple Home. And then you have way more flexibility in just how you trigger your security system and arm it. And the other cool thing about Apple Home security systems is that they have a night mode, which not all security systems have. And I think I haven't looked in a while because I don't use it, which is what I said at the beginning. So I think they still have a night mode. Anyways, I use the Ecobee security system right now, which is tied into the thermostat. Disclosure, Ecobee sponsored a video on my channel last year and sent me all the gear, but they didn't pay me to keep using it after the sponsorship, which is what I'm continuing to do because it works. It's great. It's simple. I also love that Ecobee has, I've tried other security systems. I've used Ring in the past. I've used Abode. I'll probably go back to, any other number of systems over time. The thing I like about Ecobee is that they have the professional monitoring like a traditional security system, but it's integrated into your thermostat. So you don't need, it's one less box and extra stuff you need in your home. And it works with their cameras as well, like the doorbell camera that I have. It does not tie into Apple Home. However, their door sensors can. So you can use their door sensors in Apple Home. So you get that benefit. And you also get, the professional monitoring benefit, which I don't think Aqara has, although maybe they've added that since I've paid close attention there. With the Aqara, with the Ecobee, the other thing I like is that they have this concept called practice mode, where if you have monitoring, the idea of professional monitoring is if your alarm goes off, someone from the professional monitoring service will then be able to look into your home cameras and decide, is this an emergency? Should we call the police on behalf of this family, right? And then the police might show up at your front door about what's going on. And a funny story back to earlier history of the channel that I haven't really talked about very broadly. And this is not the Aqara security system, but I was setting up and reviewing another home security product from another company. This was years ago now. And I had disabled the speaker on that particular hub because it was making, I didn't like the sound. I thought, well, I can get the siren going other places. So I just I set it up. I figured, is in the review process of, and I actually never really posted a full review of the security system on my channel. It just never really made it into an interesting video. There's a lot of things that get cut from my channel that don't actually make it to you guys. And I'm changing that over the years and trying to get more things that actually come out. But anyways, this was one that never really saw the light of day. But I was trying the security system, and I don't want to rat this company out because it's not fair to them. But I had the speaker muted on the security system, and then we armed the system away. And we left, as a family to go do something, came back, and then I forgot about that. Professional monitoring was turned on. So we enter the house, and then it triggers the alarm. We don't hear anything or know anything. There's an alert that comes to both my phone and my wife's phone, and then it calls my phone, but we're in the middle of unloading our 3 kids from the car and doing a bunch of stuff at home. So it's like, whatever, some number's calling me. Okay, I got some alerts on my phone, not really paying attention. Get the kids inside. Then all of a sudden I see a police car pull up in front of our house, and a policeman comes to the front door. It's like, what's going on? And I explain, and this was the only time this ever happened. I apologized profusely, and I said that I just set the security system up and I had some settings wrong, so I didn't know. And, but yeah, so then, that was a time made me very scared, but rightly so, I think, of the concept of professional monitoring, where, yeah, if you set off your sensors, you could be asking the police department to show up as fast as they can. And some police departments, I think, show up faster than others. Some it's like, whatever, we've gotten this, this is the 15th one today, we're just going to waltz on over there. Some places, I think maybe they go faster. But anyways, this guy was like right there and really fast. And yeah, so be cautious with that. And that can be an advantage of Aqara as well. So a little bit of a side story there. Yes, go Lando. Yeah, it was really cool to see Lando win in Miami, shifting back to Formula One, all over the place today. Do I know if the Aqara U50 will be available at Best Buy? I don't. I think they sell the U100 there right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have it there soon, if they don't already. So keep an eye on that. I have no inside information on that. Yeah, but that would be cool. New Aqara hub. I have not tried the Zemi Smart Matter over Thread roller shades, so I can't really give you some thoughts there, Michael. Good question. I do hope to be trying some more shades. They don't really tend to get much in terms of views on videos. So them, robot vacuums, roller shades, some of those like higher end, more niche products. It's tend to be harder to get, and a lot of people to watch them. And so then it's like, I make them because I like to make those videos, and I can do that for a certain point in this channel. But also I have to make I want to make videos that you guys want to watch, because I want to serve you and help you build a better smart home. And so I can't just keep going down the road of making videos that are less popular. Sometimes I can, sometimes I will intentionally. But yeah. So anyways, I just made a smart shade video like a month or two ago. So probably won't see anything anytime soon from me from that, but hopefully at least another this year. I'd like to think I could get that out, but we'll see. All right. How do I lock down the Apple TV as a HomeKit server? Interesting idea. I would say it's the HomeKit process on the Apple TV just runs in the background and it takes care of itself. It's like I mentioned in my HomeKit Hub video, you might already have HomeKit Hubs running and you just don't even realize it, because Apple kind of, does the classic Apple thing where they're just going to take care of it all behind the scenes and you don't need to worry about it, which is nice in a lot of ways, but it can be tricky in others. I would say you could probably just there are a lot of relatively inexpensive screens out there. You could find a small HDMI screen. It's probably not going to be a good picture quality, but you could just hook it up to the Apple TV, keep it plugged in, keep it, connect the Ethernet down where you have your internet, and then just use that as a HomeKit server. Now, the downside is you can't tell HomeKit, at least right now, maybe WWDC, they'll add this, you can't tell it, please use this as my HomeKit hub if it's available. So it's just going to be one of the HomeKit hubs in your house, depending on any given time. But, that it does help to have a wired HomeKit hub, like an Apple TV. And if you can't do that wired Ethernet to one of your televisions, it could be nice. Yeah, so I don't know. I think this could work. In some ways it sounds kind of overkill, but in some ways that's kind of what we're all about. So yeah, I could see it. But just it's a bummer because you're going to be spending a bunch of money on some stuff that you're not really going to fully take advantage of. Although maybe you'd then have that extra Apple TV to use in the future as your setup changes over time. So, thanks, Michael. To get the Aqara, is it worth the money to get the Aqara M3 if you use Apple Home? The local automation control is interesting. Thoughts? So, yeah, I like their local automation control, but to be honest, I don't run any of my automations. As I talked about in my M3 Hub video, I don't run any automations in my Aqara app. So I don't have any reason to keep using the M3 Hub. Now, I changed over my house to the M3 Hub for that video. So I'm using the M3 Hub right now, but I wouldn't have done that otherwise. I still think the M2 Hub is a great hub. And I would say, you can continue using that or one of the other Aqara hubs. I do think having a hub that's connected, if you can, with Ethernet to your home is nice. So that's where the M2 Hub comes in over maybe like a G2H Pro or something like that. But yeah, if you're into local automation, I could see it. But as I said in that video, for most people, I think who are sort of into smart home tech the way I'm into smart home tech, it's not really a hub for us, I think, is the way I'd put it. Yeah. Oh boy, the Sonos Ace. Well, I have the Sonos Roam 2 here to check out. So I'll be mentioning that in an upcoming video and maybe doing a dedicated video about it. We'll see. The Sonos Ace headphones are interesting. At first I was a little bit skeptical about Sonos getting into the whole headphone world, but I think now that I see it and have thought about it more, it makes sense. Obviously they thought about it a lot before they actually did it. Because a lot of people buy Bluetooth headphones for various reasons, and high-end Bluetooth headphones are totally a thing that, I'm sure a lot of Sonos users have other high-end Bluetooth headphones like AirPods Max or the Sony WH-1000 XM5s or the Bose Quiet Comfort. I think it's like their QC700 or whatever. They're like high-end ones. So yeah, I'm sure they looked at that market and thought they could make something cool. I love that they made it out of plastic. I don't like plastic in general. It's not as environmentally friendly, but I'm sure they did it as best as they could, responsibly as they could, knowing Sonos. And I love that it has physical controls. I have not tried it myself. I think it's kind of strange how little it actually integrates with the Sonos ecosystem. And I know, Steven over on his channel reviewed them and had some issues getting it to connect to his soundbar, which is kind of like the whole point of the headphones. Why you'd go with the Sonos ones over others, probably. But I think it sounds like they're good enough headphones that you could probably see someone buying those and then thinking, oh, this Sonos company's really great, and then buying the speakers, where, a lot of other times, I think the only other way people would get into Sonos products is maybe they buy something like a Roam 2 or some other, Sonos speaker or a soundbar for their TV, and then get into Sonos that way. And as some of you guys who are viewing this channel know, once you get into Sonos, you tend to get more Sonos speakers. And I think that's sort of the train. They're trying to get more people to go down that path that I'm sure a number of us have been down, getting different Sonos speakers for different rooms and playing music around your house. And that can be a whole lot of fun. And they're great products, but I've not tried the Ace headphones, so I don't have like opinions on actually using them. They don't really interest me that much. I tend to be more into other headphones, and I don't have that use case of, oh, I'd love to watch movies really loud and I don't want to wake other people, because our main way to watch that is in the basement, which is very difficult to interrupt, at least the volumes we watch TV, when someone's up sleeping on the top floor of our house. So, a 2-story house with a basement. So there's a whole floor in between. But I could totally see it if I had, let's say, back in my apartment, back in 2018, I could totally see wanting to have headphones where then, you and also maybe a significant other, you get 2 pairs. They sell a set now with the sound bar and 2 pairs of headphones. So you get, the headphones together and then watch something. So and then of course, you don't have to worry about the volume interrupting other people. Steven did mention in his review that the bass is not as good as maybe the AirPods Max. So I've tried the AirPods Max. I sold my AirPods Max a while back, so I don't have them right now. But I have tried that with an Apple TV, and it sounded great. So I would say if you're in the Apple ecosystem already, it's a shame because AirPods Max are so old at this point and so expensive for how old they are, and they have a lightning charger. Like, I'm kind of holding out personally until Apple updates the AirPods Max maybe later this year with USB-C. And those, I think, are more the headphones that are more appealing to me. But Sonos Ace look like cool headphones, and it's a cool product. And I hope it does well for them because I love Sonos as a company. I want them to stay around. They make great products overall. And I hope this works out because I think it's a key part of them continuing to grow their business over time. So yeah, when someone figures out Wi-Fi on headphones, that for lossless audio and all that stuff, that sounds very tricky to do well, though, especially if they're not going to be like, the weight and size of an Apple Vision Pro on your head. So I'm getting up to an hour, so I'm really going to close it down. We have some HomeKit camera questions here. I'm going to kind of knock out a few of these, and then I think we'll call it a day. Thanks so much for tuning in to this live stream. It's always a lot of fun to join you guys on a Friday afternoon or whenever you watch this in the future. Let's see. Integrate Nest products into HomeKit. So Starling Home Hub for sure. Starling.io, I think, is the website. Starlinghome.io is the website, and that will get you what you need. So totally. And this is also something too where I know a lot of people see these sort of like homegrown, open source hubs to connect things in their smart home and kind of get concerned about reliability and just like maybe you don't feel like you have the technical knowledge to keep something up like this. Starling is in a category of its own in this regard, in that it's very easy to manage and they make the whole process very simple. So if you're maybe understandably scared of, let's say, Homebridge or Home Assistant or other stuff, don't be scared of Starling Home Hub. It's like a set it and forget it. Just keep it on in your home and it'll update over time. Would highly recommend, and I still use mine today. I bought it years ago. Do you still use the Eve Outdoor Cam? If not, is there an alternative you recommend? I do not use the Eve Outdoor Cam. I replaced it with a basic light fixture in that same place because we really needed a light fixture there. I still think it's a great camera. I had no real issues using it. So yeah, I mean, I haven't used it recently, but I would still recommend it. I think it's a really good execution of an outdoor camera. That said, especially for HomeKit. That said, I mean, I think in part maybe due to Apple's bugs and other things, HomeKit cameras always have Wi-Fi issues and reliability issues. So keep that in mind. But I think if you're looking to go with Apple HomeKit, you can't get, for HomeKit Secure Video specifically, you can't get better for outdoor than the Eve Outdoor Cam. When I view them remotely, they take a long time to buffer. What is the best way to speed that up? Good question. There's a few different things here, but I think the biggest one would be your internet connection to the outside world and how fast your upload speeds are there. There's a couple different layers of things to consider here. I'm guessing, just statistically speaking, you're probably on a cable connection, like a cable internet to your home. If you're on fiber, then, something else must be going on, or change your internet plan, because fiber should have no problems with this. The other thing to consider is boosting your cable plan, maybe so you have more upload speed. A lot of times cable plans will bury how fast the upload speed is, and you kind of have to call and like say that's what you're concerned about, and they can like find a plan that works well for you. Because as a YouTuber, I'm concerned about my upload speed. I mean, here it's not very fast. I think I have like 35 or 40 megabits up, which is still a lot faster. A lot of cable plans, it's like 12 megabits per second up, which isn't very fast, or sometimes even slower than that. So seeing if you can change to a plan that has more megabits per second could be nice. Now, before you go too far down that rabbit hole and spend money, I would look at your cable modem itself, because there's been a lot of advancements over the years with new versions of DOCSIS, which is the standard that the cable modems use to connect to the cable network, and being able to use the cable in the ground better to get more speed out of it. And so potentially you could upgrade your cable modem to a newer one that is a newer version of DOCSIS. I forget what the latest version number is of that. And then that could help. Now, you could look as well. Sometimes it's not ideal financially, but sometimes you might get performance out of renting whatever the high-end cable modem is from your cable provider, just because that's going to be one that's well-tuned to them, and they're probably going to monitor the traffic on it, so they'll boost your signal as long as you're not, running a BitTorrent server out of your closet. They'll boost your upload speed for various things that look legit to them. Then you trade off some privacy stuff there, of course. I did that, and I've had a pretty good experience overall with upload speed there. But you can also get, a nice cable modem yourself and put it in. But sometimes that can be challenging because it's more expensive to pay for things like unlimited data with that, if you want that. So yeah, all these different variables to consider, but I would say first, look at your cable modem, how recent it is, and then second, look at your cable plan, because most likely the speed, and that's something really to consider for a lot of folks out there, is the notifications and accessing your camera remotely. Both of those things come through your internet connection, because and that's just all stuff where if you get a faster upload speed to your internet connection, that can really make a difference in the reliability of your smart home. And just something to consider. Also, some places where you live, you might just be kind of stuck with what you have. And I guess that's the last thing to think about there is, depending on if you're getting really high latency connections, like, I don't know, like above 100 milliseconds or something, or, even above like 50 milliseconds of latency, then you can use get the cable provider to like come out to your house and lay new cable and update whatever other things in that chain of connection to then get you better signal quality to your modem wherever it is. And also, if your modem is like split 5 times across like a bunch of different cable lines inside your house, all of those reduce the signal quality. So if you could move your modem closer to the actual input to your house, that's a whole other thing there. So yeah, kind of going deep on cable modem stuff, but for speed tests, I always use, and this can be a good way to test, and it's very unforgiving. I think some speed tests like fast.com tend to be very complimentary, but speed.cloudflare.com is really good to test. I don't want to reveal anything about where I live, so I'm going to close that before it actually runs. I also don't want it to mess up this live stream somehow, but speed.cloudflare.com, I think, is the address. And that Cloudflare is one of those big internet companies you might have never heard of. They run a lot of behind the scenes of the internet. Here, I'll go back to the main scene here. Yeah, and they obviously have some good ways to determine your connection speed because they route traffic all day around the internet. So thank you guys so much for joining. We're right at an hour. It's been a lot of fun to hang out with you, answer some of your questions. Good to hear, Remtech, that Starling Home Hub was easy to set up for you. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope to have an exciting video coming out for you sometime this weekend. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.